Today's rant comes to us from the global warming fanatics who are scaring the hell out of our children. We see a lot of fear, but what is the reality of what's happening? And is that equated to the amount of fear that we're instilling onto our children about what's actually happening? The actions that we're putting forth to save the planet aren't aligned with the irrational fear that we're instilling into our children. So let's roll into it.
We are told that your generation cares more than any other about one issue in particular, and that issue is climate change.
What do you people with the money, what are you doing about this? Because
I'm going to tell you right now.
Children. No, I've got children. I've got 21, 23-year-old children. And what's their future with you people with money?
We're told that many of you suffer from climate anxiety.
I remember my middle child waking up with nightmares over concern around climate change.
You wish to save the planet.
Am I allowed to go to Fiji? Is that necessary?
In the current climate crisis, I don't think that that's necessary.
This supposed climate crisis has our children so afraid of everything that they're trying to tell us we shouldn't fly anywhere because it's going to burn the planet. But yet they've been saying things like that since I was this girl's age and younger. And we don't see the effects of everything that they were talking about. And the current climate crisis she's talking about has been going on since I was a kid. They've been talking about this same stuff forever, and we don't have the evidence to prove it. But yet we have a lot of people afraid, screaming and yelling about evidence that isn't being produced. Because as I said, from when I was a kid until now, they've been saying this. What's actually happening versus the fear that's being instilled, I don't think is the same.
When was the last time you were on a plane?
I'm not sure. Maybe a few months ago, to be honest.
Where'd you go?
Fiji.
Izzy! Izzy! Don't you care about the climate, Izzy?
Of course I care about the climate.
Not enough. You went to... you went to Fiji.
It is pretty ironic, but to be honest, it's not really a trip that I wanted to go on, but I can't really get out of it because
Why'd
my
you
parents wanted to
go? Why'd you go?
My parents wanted to go. I
Izzy!
didn't want to go.
How are you embarrassed that your parents did that to the planet and then forced you to do it as well?
Of course I'm not embarrassed.
This is the trash they're putting in our kids. Listen to this little girl. She's saying she shouldn't be ashamed that her parents are helping her make money off the climate change agenda and pretend that there's actually this thing going on. Meanwhile, they clearly don't believe it. Because if they did, they wouldn't have jumped on a plane and flown. If their daughter can go on a radio show and tell people not to fly around, but they can, and then she's not embarrassed by it, what the hell are we listening to? Why are we listening to these children? They do not know what they're talking about. And their parents are using them to make money off of them. You can look at almost any child star throughout history, and their parents are rich too. So this pretend agenda that our kids are so afraid of, our kids don't even believe in. And our kids don't even believe in their level of hypocrisy. She doesn't even notice. She really doesn't even. She kind of mentioned it, but doesn't even get it. Like to the level. You're a climate activist, not an average Joe. You're someone who says the rest of us shouldn't be using fossil fuels, and you're out there using more than the average Joe who's never left their own state.
Meanwhile, a lot of young people are very upset about climate. And you know what they're doing? They're destroying some of the greatest artwork in Western civilization because they want you to know how important the climate is.
It shows the destructive nature of our addiction to oil. during these times of catastrophic climate change is needed now more than ever.
So these are basically people you're saying who believe that Bill Nye is actually a science guy and not just a buffoon created by television.
Exactly.
What is worth more, art or life? We cannot afford new oil and gas. It is going to take everything we know and love.
Well, that's weird, isn't it? They're attacking our civilization's art, but they're not saying anything about the people who are actually destroying the climate.
All of this destruction is on the people who believe in this stuff without any actual evidence. You're instilling this fear into people. You're telling people that the planet's on fire without any actual evidence. With years upon years of actual counter evidence saying we should be in a different place right now than we are. A lot of land should have been taken up by rising seas by now.
If the water on the planet is going to rise up 10 feet, that means the southern part of the United States is gone. England is gone. Most of Europe is gone. If it were really true, the banks wouldn't invest. The banks wouldn't finance. You know those 30, 40-year mortgages? The world would be over by then.
And instead of anybody seeing that, we're just still emotionally caught up in the same place we were 40 years ago.
We live in a society in which adults are afraid of children. We've got to believe that young people are persuadable. We've got to make rational arguments to them. And that is, I think, the way to deal with many of these problems. We've got to challenge young people to step up and be better. We've got to remember, Tucker, they're young minds. We were all young once, and we were just as idiotic and stubborn and so sure of ourselves that we thought we knew everything. I think we got to fight. We got to fight to change people's minds, and the way to do that is with rational argument and encouraging critical thinking.
And so instead of trying to produce evidence that counters this idea that something's happening, it's easier just to ask for, where is the evidence? Where are the seas rising? Why are people building on the coasts? Why aren't people immigrating? Why aren't people migrating inward from the coasts because we're seeing massive flooding? Why are the number of storms decreasing? Why is the magnitude of those storms decreasing? It's not a matter of people who think global warming isn't happening that we have to produce evidence. I think it's time that the people who say it's happening should produce the evidence. Thanks for hitting that like and subscribe button. Thanks to all my subscribers. Thanks to all my new subscribers. If you like this rant, check out one of these other 2 rants. Thanks for watching. Later.